Hello, legendary listeners, and welcome to the Legendary Ladies podcast. This week, all three of us are back together, which we're very excited about. We hope you have enjoyed our duo series.
Been a while.
It has been a while. I am full on halfway through, not even halfway, we're like a third of the way through my run of Macbeth. So if you're in San Diego, come and see it. It's pretty awesome. And it's kind of fun too, because we didn't realize it, but we're at an amphitheater, right? But we're doing it at the summer solstice. So it ends up being that we expected the sun to be down by 8 p.m. when we started. The sun's not down till 8:30. So it ends up being Shakespeare at sunset, which is really pretty.
Fun.
Unless you were choreographing a fade to black intimacy scene where they're like, and blackout, and there's no darkness. So that was interesting. We're like, okay, we're just gonna kind of shuffle off stage right here.
Fade to like a mauve as the sun still hasn't gone
Fade
down.
to sunset. It's humorous. But if you guys are interested, patioplayhouse.com/Macbeth, come see it. It's awesome. This week, the three of us are here to chat about the Flash movie, which somehow all three of us managed to see, which is pretty impressive given how insane our schedules have been. We watched it for you, legendary listeners.
We did it. We did it for you.
We did it just for you, and we have thoughts.
We do.
I have more.
Amy has a lot of thoughts.
I didn't know you would have such hot takes. I will say I went to the movies today, and this is actually movie theater Coca-Cola.
Oh, the best time. Have I told you that I went through a period of time where I didn't quite feel like going to the movies, but I wanted movie theater popcorn. So Mike would go out and get me a giant tub of movie theater popcorn, just bring it home.
That's so fun.
Then
I actually
Lord of the Rings movies.
I saw on DoorDash, there was one of our local theaters. They were selling popcorn on there. You could just get it on DoorDash, but it was really expensive. So I'm like, I'll just go to the theater and get. We also have AMC subs, as I always promote. All
Yes,
the time
I was going to say
show.
at this point, I'm like, do you work for AMC Stubs?
AMC Stubs. Do you want to see every movie ever? Kat has AMC Stubs.
Do you want discounted popcorn? Kat gets it. AMC
Stubs.
I will say I do steal their soda a lot, so this is something we do, and then we'll get to the movie.
This is sneaky. This is like a life hack that Kat's
maybe
sharing.
I think this is only for my AMC theater, but we walk in, and before we used to hide our little plastic cups. We're like, all right, we can't let them know that we're getting Coke Cherry or our drinks from, this is a Popeyes glass. This was not for an AMC. I just bring my Popeyes glass there. We used to hide it. And then once it's in a mall, so we got bubble tea once and we really forgot to hide it. No one really cared. And then oh wait, so now I could just bring the cup and you could kind of wave it in front of them. They don't care. So I go to the theater for free completely. I got the soda for free. And I did not pay for my ticket.
You're working the system.
They don't get paid enough to care.
And also the mall. Like I said, it's a mall. People are bringing food.
That's true. We used to go to in high school, we used to go to a movie theater all the time that was in a mall, and we would stop at a store, get candy, shove it in our purses, and then go into the movie theater. So
yeah. See, but you can just put in their face and they won't care.
Now you can just walk by eating the candy as you walk in. They're just like, whatever.
Yeah. So Kat, you saw Flash opening night. I saw it over the weekend. Morgan,
I saw it Saturday. I had a special guest in my showing in that Rebecca.
You went with Rebecca.
That's
Johnson,
right. From my co-host at Supergirl Radio. She flew in for the weekend. We took her around New Jersey. We fed her pizza. We fed her pot stickers. We fed her Italian. And she went to go see the movie with us. So we went on Saturday because she got in Friday night. So, but I will say, not super crowded. I think the box office.
Same.
The box office sort of bore that out, but there were certainly some seats prime time on a Saturday, after the movie came out. So I thought to myself, wow, I feel like the Spider-Verse movie was more crowded when we saw that on a Monday night, weeks after it came out.
I'm curious if it had to do with the Ezra Miller stuff, because we'll talk 100%. About we pulled up an article also about superhero fatigue, but that didn't do anything for Spider-Verse, which was an amazing movie and people saw a lot of. But it's
that article is interesting because it actually it brings that up. It brings up like why we can get into the article in a little bit, but like why Into the Spider-Verse and the Flash movies, why they have two different results.
Rachel in the chat said pizza and pot stickers in true Cara Danvers fashion.
That is
and
true.
Yes, that was part of the
it.
thought process. I was like, Rebecca told me she'd never had like a pot sticker before, and I was like, we'll fix
What?
it. We'll fix it for you.
That's crazy.
Had she had Philly cheesesteaks before?
We did. So we had to. We only had a couple days. We ate a lot. I felt bad. It was like like you see those people who go on like vacations, but it seems like more of a food tour. I feel like that's the vibe we gave her, where it was like, do you want to eat again? But yeah, we ended up like we had to pick and choose. So we didn't make it to Philly cheesesteaks, which are obviously Amy's had. I think
that's like that was my I visited Morgan tradition.
That was your East Coast food takeaway. Is like Philly cheesesteaks.
So
are great.
Good. I was not sober, and it was after her wedding.
That's
true.
That's almost the ideal time to eat a Philly cheesesteak.
Oh,
too.
I was
like when you're
starving.
Not sober.
They came back, and I was like, I ate it like Barry Allen ate food in this film. Which here's the thing: for how much you guys know, I don't like the concept of mukbangs, and I think I genuinely have an aversion to watching people stuff their faces. I was so annoyed every time he was eating stuff. More than once, and he was like shoving a hot dog down his and I was like, no, I'm not game for this.
I see Rachel in the chat said, I saw The Flash and Elemental on the same day, Saturday afternoon, and I think Elemental had more people in the theater, which is really damning because honestly, I hadn't heard that movie was coming out until like last Friday, and I was like, what? There's a Pixar movie coming out? How have I managed to miss this entirely?
I haven't even seen it yet. And I love Disney. I love my Disney movies. And I've heard nothing good or bad.
I've heard it's just like whatevs. It's just kind of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
But you know what's a bummer? Is that we haven't heard about it and we're like, it's meh. The Flash has been in production for 4 years and it was meh.
I feel like that Flash production was cursed.
I don't.
It definitely was. This is interesting because I think we're on different sides of the spectrum. Because I didn't love this movie, but I didn't hate it either. Like I saw it with Phil and his sister and one of his sister's friends, and Phil and Marianne love Michael Keaton's Batman. Like, tremendously loves Michael Keaton's Batman. And watching them watch some of those notes, I was like, oh, it was really cool to see them react to that because they just talk. They love it. I can't explain.
I think that nostalgia is a plus.
Oh, the nostalgia is for sure. And like, I really liked seeing Keaton's Batman in too, because like nostalgic for me as well. I remember having to like leave the theater of Batman, whichever one was actually scary, and I was too young for it. But like, I saw like the old Keaton Batman movies, so I was so excited to see him in it. I thought he was great, but also, like, it felt weird to me that they never mentioned that he's, like, an older gentleman and, like, some of these bat moves could be, like, hard for him. It was just, like, suddenly he was like, yeah, I'm Batman again. I'm like, dude, like, you're 70s. Like, the script really not gonna, like, make any mention about that. Like, nope.
And I think it's interesting that, like, this movie, and we'll talk more about this later, but this movie is definitely more of a hodgepodge of different characters coming together than a Flash movie. Like, I never, ever felt like this character was Barry Allen. I never felt like, oh, that's my Barry, or that's someone Flash would do. And I'm just like, oh, it's just a movie about a speedster, I guess. And there's Michael Keaton, and I guess that's Supergirl. What's interesting about it and why I don't hate this movie, I think it's a fine movie. It's not my favorite superhero movie. It's not my least favorite. Is that it was actually kind of paced well. I get a little bored during a movie sometimes. You guys might know that about me. But I really wasn't on my phone. I thought it was like, all right, I like the pacing of it. I wasn't bored.
Yeah, I didn't think that the pacing of it was bad, and I thought that there were some moments that I really liked in it, like spoiler alert, I guess. Maybe just a general spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. There will be spoilers in this podcast.
We're gonna talk about this movie. So, like the moment at the end when Barry like sees his mom again, has to make that decision that like he can't actually save her. I thought that was really affecting. I don't love Ezra Miller, but I thought they did a really good job in that scene. And like that one was one where I was like, oh, okay, like I'm feeling things, like I'm connected to something in this movie.
I feel like I didn't connect with this movie until the last maybe 20 minutes. Until Kara showed up, I was so thoroughly annoyed at their interpretation of Barry Allen. And it was so distracting to me. Because
I'm interested in like what didn't you like about this interpretation of Barry Allen? Because I actually kind of agree. I don't really love Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, and I've been kind of meh on it in like a bunch of the movies.
There's cute quirky and there's annoying quirky. This felt like someone was doing a satirical parody of Barry Allen. It lacked a humanity that I wanted it to have, and a lot of it was the speed in which he talked, but in the pause in which it took him to react. I know that sounds weird, but if you're going to talk really fast, I feel like you have to react instantaneously, and his reaction speed did not match the pacing of his dialogue. It felt like he was constantly running on a treadmill, but the treadmill was set too high, and he wasn't able to keep up with his own dialogue and thoughts. So there is an interpretation, I guess, where you can interpret this in that is his personality, that he is always, like Barry Allen, is constantly late. He is constantly running on a treadmill and never quite able to keep up. Like, yeah, that's Barry Allen. But you compare it to Grant Gustin, who represents that in a humanistic way and knows when to tap into emotions and when to tap into humanity moments. I just never found that with this Barry Allen until the very, 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 very end of his movie. I was frustrated with that.
It's interesting because I saw a lot of tweets a lot of tweet threads and stuff over the weekend of like, why did the Flash flop and stuff like that? And I see Rachel in the chat said, like, what is Barry's personality other than awkward and annoying? And I guess misses his mom.
Yeah, and that's it too. Where was the other personality traits? Is he smart? I don't know. We barely got to a suggestion of that, a mere suggestion of this. Like, I had trouble with the concept that Bruce Wayne had to explain to him time.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying. Yeah, but I thought one of the interesting tweet threads I read was about like maybe part of the reason that like the Flash didn't do so great is that like there was a Flash TV show on that a lot of people really liked that like ended like a week ago. Mm-hmm. And so like people weren't like exactly clamoring for the Flash. Like he's kind of been there the whole time. And I think that the Grant Gustin portrayal, like for the people who watched, even people who like us who fell off, like we really loved that portrayal. I think Grant Gustin was kind of like a definitive Flash, and I don't know that Ezra Miller really captured that.
No,
I also feel like Ezra Miller played once the second Flash comes in, like his character completely changes for no reason. Like he's serious now, and I'm like, what made him serious now?
Yeah, I just there, and I know it's weird, but the opening sequence with the babies falling,
I didn't like that.
I didn't like it at all. And I was like, this is my first impression of this movie. And he's all complaining and whiny that he's like, oh, I'm like the second-rate citizen of the Justice League. Like, they only call me when no one else is available. And I was like, I don't like that whiny, teenagery, angsty personality. And I think for me, that's just part of the problem is that I don't like immature characters.
Yeah. I see.
So I just felt immature.
Oh, sorry. Rachel also said, also, can I say the actress who played Erin in Dairy Girls was wasted in this movie?
Yes.
She apparently played Patty Spivot in this movie and had about 2 or 3 lines. She deserved better. Yeah, I was so excited when I saw her because I love Dairy Girls. And I was like, yeah, Erin. And then she does almost nothing in this whole movie.
It was so funny because, like, you know, when you see superhero movies, you usually react to, like, you know, that cameo and that cameo. So we're watching the movie, and I wasn't sitting next to Marianne. It was, like, her friend, Marianne, Phil, and then me. And then Erin comes on screen because I didn't expect her to be there, and we squealed, right? Me and Phil. Wow! I was like, "What? Oh my God, Erin! Oh, Dairy Girls!" And we're screaming. And then, like, after the movie, Marianne asks us, like, what were you screaming about? And I was like, it was Dairy Girls. She's like, oh, okay. And I was like, that was like the best part of the movie was seeing her. Because I was just like
the brief moment of seeing somebody that you like and going, like, yeah, this is going to be great. It felt like it was like maybe there was a version of this movie where she had like a more substantial part and then they just cut all of her scenes.
They cut it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like overall, and Kat, like you were saying that you liked the pacing. The pacing to me was not terrible, but it never quite had enough of the emotional beats that I needed it to have, except at the very, very, very end. And you know what struck me? And it's, you guys know that I like to write like little Post-it notes with my thoughts on it, right? So I have my notes for the next episode we're recording, which I'm not going to show yet. Those of you who are joining us for the next episode, we are going to be talking about our top 5 queer ships in television.
We're more excited to talk about
that. We're much more excited to talk about that. But the thing that I wrote down was, there were 2 things. The first is that there was nothing new in this. There was no new story, no new character story, no new concept. We have seen the, I can't go back in time because if I go back in time, it's going to change everything. And we can't do that again concept. We've seen that before. We have seen the talking to yourself in the past before. We have seen the old man Bruce before. We've seen the multiverses colliding before. There was nothing new emotionally or story-wise in this movie, and nothing about it. If you're going to do something that's not new, then you need to do it well. And I don't think that they did any of this superhero-y trope stuff well. And the only thing that I wrote down, and this is so sad, I wrote down, I'm really glad Barry died, because I wanted him to die after Kara took him up. I wanted OG Barry to die. That would have been new. That would have been cool to see the OG Barry, who was the one who went back in time, to him to not get his powers, and when he got struck by lightning, for him to actually not survive. And then it's the new Barry who was just thrown into this role, who still has his mother. He's the one who has to decide to go back and make sure his mother doesn't survive. That, I think, would have been at least different. And that's what I wanted. And so at the very end, when at least we were like, oh, at least one of the Barrys dies, I was like, okay, that was good. But it felt very much like the end of the Flash season 1 when, what's his face?
Reverse Flash.
Yeah, it had that Reverse Flashy vibe, but Eddie lets himself get killed because that's going to stop his future self from becoming an issue. Oh,
yeah.
It felt like that. So again, still nothing new. Nothing surprised me in this. No CGI, no characters, none of the cameos shocked me. The George Clooney one did, but other than that,
that was fun.
That was fun.
I did like that. That was my issue with the film, is that I felt like I was watching a kind of sort of 2-bit take-up of the top hits of the Flash TV series.
It felt a lot like the show. Yeah. And after we got out of the movie, we were debating whether the kind of evil Barry that existed in the Speed Force with all the stuff all over him, we were like, oh, that was that Savitar that had to be.
That's what I thought.
Right. And then we looked
that's what I thought too.
We looked it up and they were like, oh, they've been referring to it as Dark Flash. It's like, what? Why not just call it I mean, if you're going to crib this whole storyline from the Flash, just call it what it is.
I think that there was a potential there for more emotional resonance in that scene as well. I think it was so so overshadowed by the multiverse cameos that they wanted to throw in, that scene lost the emotional resonance. Also, I genuinely don't know, was there a Keanu Reeves Superman in there?
No, okay, so that was that. Oh, get ready for that. That's Nick Cage.
Yeah. That was
No, I'm sorry, not Keanu Reeves. I meant Nick Cage.
Oh, so he was supposed to be Superman back in the day, and they literally made us see that version of what could have been the Kevin Smith Superman Nicolas Cage movie, and I went crazy. That was one of my favorite things.
That was one of my favorite Easter
Kevin
eggs.
Smith has been okay.
We laughed hysterically about it because I've seen all the video. I've seen a bunch of the videos of where Kevin Smith has talked about the Nicolas Cage version of the Superman and how much of a mess that eventually became. And so to see the Nicolas Cage version was very funny. The CGI wasn't. wasn't very good, but
the CGI was terrible.
But I kind of love that. That's what I know. Like the CGI in general is not great. I love
the uncanny valley of it all.
Nick Cage on brand.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. I like those sequences in general. Like I like seeing, you know, obviously the old Supergirl. I enjoyed seeing like the Adventures of Superman. I was like, oh, that was really nice. But yeah, going back to the Flash villain aspect, I do find it interesting that, you know, some of Flash's biggest villains were not in it. Like the whole person who killed Barry's mom is Reverse Flash, and he's not mentioned. I guess it's just some guy who walked into the house who killed them. I guess we don't know who killed Barry's mom. And then there's, you know, where's the rogues? What makes this? And I think that's the frustrating part. But also, like, it's difficult because one thing I liked and disliked about this movie is that I feel like it's supposed to be connected. It's supposed to be this future of DC, but I kind of liked it because it wasn't. It was like this multiverse story that you know is probably not going to go anywhere. And I kind of like that.
So it's so funny because when we were talking about why did this not do it so good, and obviously there are probably 300 reasons why. Oh, and just to interrupt myself, Rachel said also, why do these multiverse events keep ignoring Linda Carter? I agree. True. Throw in a little Linda Carter, but
don't worry, Gal Gadot was there and she did nothing.
and she's now like a past Wonder Woman, I guess. But I think that's kind of part of it. It's like not just that Ezra Miller is a very, very problematic person who's like kidnapping children and starting cults and things, but that like with announcing the James Gunn universe, they've pretty much told you like none of this matters. Like, I mean, I think that's probably a bigger reason than anything else besides like superhero fatigue on why people didn't go see this. Like if you're tuned into the superhero movie news, and honestly you barely even have to be that tuned into it, like superhero movie news is everywhere. You know that James Gunn is starting like a new DC universe. You know that this isn't in it. So it kind of leaves the question of like, why bother? Like, why bother? I don't know that I would have gone if it wasn't for Supergirl being on screen for the first time in like 20 some years. I gotta be honest, I'm not sure that I would have gone to see this movie. I don't know that I would have cared a whole bunch because ultimately it's not really going to matter too much to the James Gunn universe. And I didn't feel like I needed a whole movie to be like introduced to the concept of the multiverse. Like, unfortunately, like people understand it now. Like you don't have to really explain it. Like we've all seen enough Marvel stuff to understand like the multiverse is a thing.
But also I feel like even let's say the Ezra Miller thing didn't happen. Let's say James Gunn didn't happen. I don't think a lot of people like Justice League, right? Not a lot of people like Justice League. And, you know, obviously there's torn thoughts about the Zack Snyder movie. So it's just like, did anyone like Ezra Miller as Flash even before they were starting to kidnap babies? And,
yeah, I think the Zack Snyder films did an amazing job on casting, like for most of the roles. Like Henry Cavill was really great. Gal Gadot was a great Wonder Woman. I don't know that Ezra Miller was one that everybody was like, man, what a like definitive Barry Allen Ezra Miller seems like, unlike like, you know, people who are really loved Henry Cavill's Superman or really loved Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. I just don't feel like there was that for Ezra Miller's Barry at any point, and I could be wrong, but
no, I don't think there was, unless there was hardcore Ezra fans. But then also, again, the Flash TV show came out the same year that they announced this movie, which really freaking shows you how long this movie has been going on for.
Yeah,
it was that's first
crazy,
year.
Actually.
It's literally been like a decade that this movie was starting to happen. And yeah, I think most people are like, oh, well, why would you take that away from Grant? So already there was conflict there. And again, this movie never needed to happen. I think a Cyborg movie would have been smarter than this.
Absolutely.
You know, at least we haven't seen that character before. It's like, why didn't we get that movie instead of Flash for the 20th time?
Yeah, that character hasn't had a movie. That character hasn't had a 9-season-long television show.
And that's the big thing. Kat, you nail on the head. This movie did not need to happen because, again, there was nothing new in it. There was no character development. Like, realistically, what did Barry learn?
Don't destroy time.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like he learned that how about, let me rephrase that. There's character development, but what did Barry Allen learn that we did not see in multiple Barry comic books and
That
the
I
Flash
don't know.
TV show multiple times?
And
Like,
poor
this is
Iris.
not just
She's hardly in this movie.
Oh,
I know.
dude, that was my first thought. I was like, she was the definition of straight up love interest.
Oh yeah, no,
Like,
she didn't get to
wow.
do anything or, even barely have lines or scenes or anything like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Iris got done dirty in this movie, that's for sure.
Very dirty. I did not like that. And I think for me, I was hoping for a Flashpoint. Like, I was hoping they were going to actually do Flashpoint.
They
I was
did not
hoping
do
for
Flashpoint.
No, they didn't, because even if they decided to do like a ripoff of Flashpoint, they could have at least, like, Lois Lane in the Flashpoint comic is kicking serious ass in that run or in the comic, and we didn't get a chance to see any female characters with the exception of Supergirl kick ass.
Even Michael Keaton, when he first shows up, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be Thomas Wayne. That's a really cool twist. And they obviously don't go that route. He's just Michael Keaton and as old man Bruce Wayne.
Deeply unoriginal.
Yeah, and I was, obviously I went to see it mostly for Supergirl. I'm just gonna be honest. I was like, yes, Supergirl on the big screen. I'm so excited, and I was excited for Sasha Collier and everything. And then, oh my god, it takes so long to get to her, and she doesn't have a ton of stuff, and then she dies 25 times. And I was like,
and it's just the Red Sun Superman story, except for Supergirl.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought as soon as I was like, oh, so they're doing like a Red Sun. Okay. But also, and I have to say it, the Supergirl TV show also did that. Like, they also did a Red Daughter storyline. We can argue about how well it was done. Like, medium. But, like, it does, like, this movie kind of felt to me a little bit like reheated leftovers of the Arrowverse that they just threw in a blender.
Yeah. I think that they relied entirely on nostalgia. And I think too, like, let's pull up this Variety article. So this Variety article that was posted today, actually, that article title is exceedingly accurate it's not one of those clickbait titles. That is actually what it's about. It says, superhero fatigue is real. The cure? Make better movies than The Flash. And it talks about how the concept of superhero fatigue is the fact that there's just superhero stuff everywhere. Every possible trope that existed in this movie has existed and, quite frankly, been done better in a
Spider-Man
show. Yeah. And
came out just a few weeks ago.
So good.
Okay, here we go. So it's possible, like, to have a good superhero movie. Good comic book movies don't happen every day, and will still bring out audiences to excite them. One need look no further than the success of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, a movie innovative enough as image poetry and as storytelling to restore one's faith in the human idiosyncrasy of the comic book genre. Which that's great writing.
Great turn of phrase.
Yeah. Owen Gleiberman, thanks.
He used to be at Entertainment Weekly. That's interesting. But yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it's interesting. And I think that article also points out that, like, this isn't something unique to superhero movies. Like, this happens with, like, every genre of movies. There was a period of time when, I think he mentions in the article, musicals were really huge. There's a period of time when Westerns were, like, everywhere. And then, like, how often do you see a Western anymore? So I do, and, like, there was a big rom-com, like, back in, like, I feel like the 90s, early 2000s.
Horror never left, though.
Horror's here to stay, baby. But everything else, like, they have their sort of their seasons. They get really big, they get really popular. And the superhero, genre of movies has been around now for a really long time. Like, I think if you mark it at the beginning of, like, Iron Man 2008, like, that's a while back. If you mark it earlier than that for, like, the Spider-Mans and, like, maybe closing in on 20 years, like, that's a long time for any genre to have a ton of movies out. And also, these movies,
just Marvel and DC, it's like you're only really making movies about these superheroes.
And the movies have started to, like, escalate in the amount of, like, literally usually there's this comic book movie out, like, every month. Almost, it feels like. And I think that's too much of any one type of movie. It's just too much. I think people are getting fatigued because it wasn't just The Flash that has underperformed. Shazam also did bad. Black Adam did bad. There was
Ant-Man apparently.
Ant-Man.
The only thing that did well was
bad.
Spider-Verse because it was an animated film. It was
And
very
Guardians
much based
3.
on the comics. Guardians 3 because of James Gunn, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That Craven trailer came out and that looks bad.
Craven! Now I know all about Craven, so I'm hyped.
Even the people who participate in the movies are overwhelmed by it. That article links to an article with Chris Hemsworth, who literally was like, Thor 4 was too silly for me. Like, we got too silly. And I think when you fatigue your actors, it shows. And when you fatigue your writers, it shows. I think that at its bare basics, this movie lacked any originality in its writing, which then came off in a lack of originality in the performances. And I think that I felt it in a way that I was frustrated about because I was really exhausted, guys, and I still managed to go see this movie.
You're like, oh, and I can't believe I'm here.
That was 2 hours that I really genuinely want back.
I think it's
I could never see this movie again and be happy.
Brutal. I feel like I lean more towards Kat, where like I enjoyed seeing the movie. I got out and I was immediately like, my memories of it are already fading, like a multiverse situation where they had undone it for me. Like like little by little, it was like eternal sunshining of the spotless mind within me, where like scenes were disappearing. But like, I enjoyed it while I watched it. I don't think that it's going to be one that I think about a lot or like references like, oh, this is a great superhero movie. I also don't think that they did themselves any favors by like trying to get other celebrities and like people to hype it up in like an insane manner. We're tracking these on Supergirl Radio because Rebecca would grab every time somebody talked about the Flash movie, Rebecca would grab it. And so we saw them and they were getting crazier and crazier. It was like Tom Cruise was like, oh my God, this is like the best movie I've ever seen. Jaden Smith was like, yeah, Tom Cruise hyped it up. Jaden Smith said it changed his life.
How much did they get paid?
That's what I'm thinking. Stephen King said he really liked it. So they did all these test screenings.
I'm surprised by
Flash.
Stephen King. He doesn't seem like one that would just ask for the paycheck to talk about Flash.
And I feel like they were like, okay, we're going to like, sure, this production is cursed, but we can get some people to like really hype it up and then people are going to be psyched about it. And I feel like it did the opposite where it's like, yeah, if you keep telling me that this is an incredible movie and then I go see it and it's like a movie, like, yeah, maybe I'm going to feel more disappointed than I would have been if I was just like, yeah, all right, I'll see The Flash.
See, the reason I think I like The Flash a little bit more, because I saw both Shazam and Black Adam, and I really dislike both. Black Adam was boring, and then Shazam was just almost distasteful. So like, Flash is just like, I'm just like, Flash, this is a fine movie. You know what? Fine for DC.
Well, that's the problem. Is it? Are we judging him on a curve? Are we grading the Flash on a curve?
Oh yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Because if you compare this to like Endgame,
sure, but if I compare it to the previous Marvel movies, it's also kind of an okay movie.
Yeah, that's true. Like the most recent Marvel movies, I think maybe if I had a deeper connection to the nostalgia, I might have appreciated it more. I recognize that. I did not get into the superhero world really until Iron Man, until the Marvelverse became a thing. It was never on my radar. So I never watched the older Batmans. I have no connection to that. So Kat, you the people you saw it with did. Yeah. Did that contribute to the moments where you're like, okay, these moments of nostalgia outweigh the other moments of dissatisfaction?
I'm gonna get burned here, but I don't actually like the Michael Keaton movies that much. They're like, I see why they're important. I very much like, I'm happy for everyone who enjoys them, but I also like, I grew up with them. Like I've seen them as a kid, but I don't really like have too much of a memory of like, oh, like Spider-Man when I first saw that, where I'm like, that changed my life. I'm just like, all right, I saw this on TV and there's Batman. Because also there's other Batman material to watch, like Batman the Anime Series. Like, and I was reading Batman comics. Like, there's just other content I liked more as a kid. So for Phil and Marianne, who literally, I will say on, they talk about Michael Keaton's Batman a lot and reference it. I was happy for them and they enjoyed those moments. And Marianne loved this movie. Phil was kind of in my camp, who was like middle of the road of the movie. But yeah, maybe nostalgia played a part in that. But like, again, I saw these movies and nostalgia didn't play a part. I think the only part that I was like, oh, that was really cool, was the George Clooney thing. Because I've made fun of Batman and Robin all my life. So I think, and I hate that movie. I'll always say, I think Catwoman's a better movie than Batman and Robin. I hate Batman and Robin.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I really, really tremendously hate it.
I remember being like little when that came out and being like, oh my God, Poison Ivy's so cool. I'm like not understanding why everyone thought it was a trash movie because I was like an actual child and was like, yeah, this seems great. It's like, yeah, no, this was supposed to be kind of meant for adults and it's not.
I watched it in high school and I was a huge I'm still a huge Batgirl fan. So after I saw her there, I was so excited. I was like, Batgirl's in this movie. And I was just like, oh, she's actually Alfred's niece. That's weird. And also something I enjoyed about this movie is I thought the action was actually really unique, especially when it came to Michael Keaton's Batman. It very much felt like a video game. Felt like Arkham Asylum. And I think even Supergirl felt a lot like Injustice. And that's something I guess I could appreciate.
That's true. Yeah. I feel like that was kind of the costume was a little bit injustice-y. Yeah.
That was distracting to me. It felt I was trying to find moments of like humanity and emotion and I kept getting distracted by how not real it felt. Which is, again, incredibly ironic. I recognize this is a superhero show about time travel. Like, there's nothing realistic about it. But then you look at, like, some of the moments that really soar in Marvel movies or in the Grant Gustin ones are those moments where they find that humanity. And I just never felt like I quite got connected to this character.
And I feel like that could be part of the reason why people are kind of burned out with superhero movies. Like after we saw The Flash, this weekend we finally watched Ant-Man, the Quantumania, because it was on Disney Plus. It's fine. But like honestly, after that movie was over, I like wanted to go outside and like touch grass. Like I wanted to go and like be in the world because literally that entire movie was CGI. Movie. It was ugly. So CGI. They never touched like a real like piece of land. Like they weren't in an actual environment at any point. And I do feel like your eyes just get tired from that much CGI. Like you're like, I'm not playing a video game. Like give me something that looks a little bit more real.
Yeah, I can definitely see
that was my problem. Is it was too like again that baby sequence at the beginning,
that was a lot.
Oh my gosh,
immediately disconnecting. Like immediately, I'm like, oh, I don't like this. Like right off the bat.
I made this joke before, and I'll probably make it like 3 other times. But those babies looked about as realistic as the Ally McBeal dancing baby from the 90s. Like I was expecting them to start doing that little dance.
I know it's weird and I realize he's moving at light speed, but like that's not how you handle babies. You can't just like flick them around like you're gonna
and put them in a microwave.
And put them in a microwave.
Can't just put a baby in a microwave.
Did not understand the microwave thing. I will say the opening scene, I was already out of the movie. I was like, but then like there was stuff that but then there was things for some reason that got me back in. And I surprisingly think it was Barry. I don't think he's a good Barry, but I think they tried to have an emotional tether with him compared to some maybe more of the action movies. Again, like Thor, I think is a great example of like, I was looking for the heart. I love Jane Foster's story, as I've always mentioned. I hate that movie because it's just so jokey and there's just no heart to it. And I think Doctor Strange is a great example of that. And I felt like at least they tried with Barry. I don't know if they succeeded, but I mean, the mom story is the through line of the whole movie.
Yeah, that was it for me. I think the only thing that I connected with in the film was Nora and Baby Barry, like not Baby Barry, but like Kid
Little
Barry.
Yeah.
Those were the only moments that I felt in the film. Was that character moment between Nora and Dad and Little Barry. I think that was the most human part of the film, and it was a very small subsection.
I'm interested. So as part of our lead up to the Flash movie, Rebecca suggested that we rewatch Man of Steel, which I hadn't watched since like it came out. And when it came out, I did not like it. I did not care for it at all. On rewatch, I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. Like, I don't know what I was, it's so funny how opinions on movies change. But I have to say, I had no memory of it whatsoever. I had memory hold that entire movie. But a lot of this movie actually hinges on that movie.
Yeah.
Or like knowing Man of Steel. And that movie came out 10 years ago. Did you guys feel like, oh my God, I don't remember anything from Man of Steel? Like, what's happening here? Or?
Yeah, but also I think they reference it enough that it's like,
okay, you can kind of follow.
Yeah, you get caught up. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, the city is being destroyed by Zod. Yeah. Like I caught up pretty quickly.
Because I would have
Zod
forgotten
bad.
that whole, I would have forgotten that whole, like, they put the codex of all the Kryptonians in, like, one of the in Baby Kal-El or whatever, which was, like, a big part of the Man of Steel movie. And then, like, this time, again, spoilers, this time they were like, LOL, JK, it's in Kara. And I was like, wait, what? Why?
Yeah.
Just because
they needed something to be decently
because
original.
would it be fun unless we had Supergirl on screen but then we killed her 300 times just over and over again, just different kinds of kills.
Yeah. Anywho, anything else you guys want to say about the Flash movie?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, we've been thoroughly meh on it. I was Flash negative. Morgan, it sounds like you were Flash neutral.
I mean, it was okay. It was okay. I didn't come out of the movie going like, man, I hated that. And I didn't come out of the movie being like a triumph. I just came out going, that was fun. That was fun.
That was
I will say the one thing I did hate about this movie was the post-credit scene. What was that? I don't understand it at all.
Oh, right. It was the joke of Aquaman.
Yeah, what was that?
That was not worth it.
It was like Aquaman needs to go to like AA or something. Like, I just don't understand what's happening.
They really need to do better. That's a movie I'm not looking forward to, is Aquaman 2. That's what I'm really not looking forward to. I think this will be better than Aquaman 2.
I feel like it's almost safe to say that's true, that will be true. Just based on nothing alone on that post-credit scene that was absolutely horrible. But yeah, it sounds like Amy was very negative. It sounds like Kat, you and I were kind of on the same.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was fine. It's nothing to write home about, but it wasn't like, didn't like make me angry or anything. I didn't think it was like actively bad, but yeah.
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Like, I had a fine time.
It was a fine. I'd probably put it more at like a 3 for me. It was like just very middle of the road. Like, would it anger me to watch it? No. Like, would I go seek it out to watch over again?
No.
Also no. Yeah, also no. Like, I'd watch any of the Spider-Verse movies like multiple times. Like, some of the Marvel movies that I really loved, I'd watch them again. This one, I mean, if it was like on TV and I was really bored, sure.
There's no other channels.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, everything's off, but only the Flash is on. It's like, yeah, okay.
Still won't watch it.
And Amy would be like,
again.
turn off the
Never
TV,
again.
throw it in the trash.
Yep. No, I
sit with my silence.
Nope. All right, let's wrap it up real fast. Let's go around the table. Where can everybody find everybody online? Kat, where are you? What cons are you at? And what Kickstarter do you currently have going?
Yeah, well, I'll have 2 coming up soon, but once this is released, I know. Actually, there will be 2 live. Yeah, so we have our enamel pins for lesbian, pansexual, and non-binary. So if you want to check that out, we got a lion, not a lion, a tiger. We got a panda, and we got a turtle. So that's fun. And then we have Slice of Life issue 4, The Kiss, which is going to be, I guess they're both live now. As I record this, they're not, but once this is out, they will be live. So go check out both those Kickstarters, and you could follow me at Comic Uno.
And then Morgan, what about you? You're talking about this movie a lot.
You want to hear more about The Flash? Get ready. It's happening. You can find me as a co-host on Supergirl Radio, where Rebecca and I will be talking about the Flash movie, but more from like a Supergirl perspective, most likely, but also just things about the film. We actually also, we had to wait a little while before we went to dinner because it was mobbed. We had to wait for those pot stickers. So we actually recorded outside of the restaurant on like a little picnic table. So Rebecca has like probably like 30 minutes of us like waiting for our table talking about our like first impressions, first thoughts about the Flash because we had like literally just come from seeing it. So
I
I don't
like
know
that. That's
what
cool.
the plan is. She might put the whole thing up on YouTube, or she might put it in the episode. But you should you can go to youtube.com/DCTV podcast, and all of our thoughts on the Flash will be up there. So it's a Flash week for me. That's fun.
And you guys can find me on Instagram, Amy_hip, HYP. Is it Amy.hip or Amy_hip? Hold horses. I changed it recently. One is one and the other is another. Yeah, Amy_hip, HYP.
There you go.
Yeah, anywho, if you're in San Diego, come see Macbeth, please. We would love to be able to perform for you. We're very proud of the work that we've put on and the production that we have. patioplayhouse.com/Macbeth. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Legendary Ladies podcast. If you have thoughts on The Flash, if we are completely off base, if you were like, this was, as Jaden Smith says, the best film I've ever seen.
It changed, if it's The Flash indeed changed your life, like it changed Jaden Smith's life.
And tell us why. Email thelegendaryladies@gmail.com. Follow us on Patreon. If you were a Patreon subscriber, you could have been participating in this conversation live.
And watching these episodes way ahead of time, because we usually double record. So.
And that's the cool part, is we kind of bank episodes ahead of time.
Yeah, we've been double recording recently.
Access.
So you could have access maybe watch 2 weeks in advance almost sometimes. So it's pretty cool.
And that's patreon.com/thelegendaryladies. We're real original in our name. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our Instagram @thelegendaryladies. Our Twitter, which is now an updated handle. So you guys need to resubscribe. If you were previously following @legends_podcast, that account has been swapified. It is now a multiverse account. Like, it's different now. So you need to refollow @legends_podcast, and please share. And that's going to be it. So thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Join us for our next episode, which we're about to record, about our top 5 favorite queer ships on television. Thank you for joining us, and stay legendary.